Okay, let's get this show on the road. Right, so hopefully you've watched the last video, or if not, then don't worry about it. But what we're going to do is we're going to finish off this absolutely stunning Adro version of the, I believe it's the F92, is it? BMW M4 with these HRE performance wheels. And if you did tune into the last episode, you might recall that I was struggling with this split line here. So if we just have a little quick recap. If we go to the reference, hold on, have we deleted the rear wheel yet? Yes, we have. Okay, so the split line from the front is I believe this is called a Y split line. Is that right? Yes, in this case it's a Y, or it would be an X if you're working in alias where Y is 0. So Y, the Y plane would be, no, sorry, the X would be the center line. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is the split line here is pointing up and down, whereas the split line on the back, actually it's also it's also facing up and down. However, what was my issue again? Yeah, so my issue was where to run it over here. So I think I struggled with sort of rolling it round to the back all the way like this. But then I looked at an older version of this car that I'd already done, and this is exactly what I've done. So that's what we're doing. Right, enough rambling. Let's finish this off. Right, so we're just going to do a little bit of vertex manipulation. And then, so we're going to get a nicer spread of edge loops. So as you can see here, we've got, so this one here is sort of like your fillet towards up there. So that's, we can forgive that. Then we've got a big edge, and then 3 little ones here. So what we could do here is we can nudge this one up, and then we can probably get rid of this one. So if we turn on snapping, what's this called? Auto merge. You nudge those along, and then we edge slide these. So we've got a nicer distribution here. So we go from big at the big, and they get smaller and smaller. Or something like that. Actually, this one here, we can just go do a straight line in X, and that will help us because it looks neat. And also, should put that on 0. Let's put that on 0. So yeah, it looks neat, but then yeah, we've got a little gap, bigger still. Actually, this one looks a bit smaller than that one. So let's nudge it up a little bit. So we've got a nice little distribution there. And then let's have a look in side view. So that section there is looking quite nice as well. And if we do our little trick, if we turn off the grid, if we do our little scaler trick here, oops, wrong one, scaling Y, we can see we've got a nice constant curve. Where it, well, not constant, we've got quite constant on the back, and then accelerates sort of midpoint, and then it speeds up towards the front. We can potentially move these up a little bit. Well, they're a little bit lower than those ones, aren't they? Let's just isolate those ones in the middle. We can potentially move this one up a touch, just so that it leads into into the front a little bit better. And then move that one just a little bit. So again, we've got a little bit of acceleration there towards the front. Now, I do believe that if we duplicate this, yeah, for some reason, so this is that same edge duplicated, but because it's just that one edge, it gives you the result of the shrink wrap modifier on it, whereas on here it doesn't. So this is actually quite a nice little way of seeing how your actual curve is going to look. So I'd say that's a nice little curve on X0. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at the whole car. That's looking nice. So again, so we got a little feature here. So it goes a little highlight which goes all the way to the back there, I think. So let's just nudge these over towards the outside of the car, and again let's have a nice gradual distribution of vertices. So they're getting wider, and they snap back towards the back. And then if we have a look from top, again we should be aiming to have the widest point at the center of the wheel. So if we just turn our scaling thing off, so the center of the wheel is at Y0, which is there. So this should be the widest point around here. So that's looking good. Let's nudge these a little bit. And then we can do something similar with these. So this one looks like these are getting wider towards the back. However, as long as there's no feature there on that line, we'll be fine. Let's just move these out. So these are kind of doing curving in the wrong direction here. So we could nudge these out so that the line of them is sort of bowing outwards like this one. Again, there's no feature on there, but it's just nice to have that. Like if that was an edge, you definitely want to do that. Make sure that they're lined up. But because there isn't, it's not as important. And to be honest, it's not that important anyway. Although if you want highlights, then everything is important. I think that's a famous saying, isn't it? Is it? Or somebody's slogan, everything's important. Okay, so let's have a look. Are we good there? I think we are good there. So we're going to have a little bit of a break just in here. So we can do that by adding a loop cut just there. So the break is going to be a little bit sort of off there. So we want the distance between the edge of the light and that to be either, do we want it to be tapering? If it does taper, we don't want it to pinch too much at this point here. So I think what we've got there, so this line compared to this line, I think at the moment is running quite nice. So I think we're going to leave that as it is. Let's nudge this down a little bit and then move it in a touch. There we go, and let's have a look. So you're always checking these from all angles to make sure that everything's running nice. And I think it is. So at this point, I think we're probably ready to add a little bit more geometry into this to fix all this up. But before we do that, let's do this fender so that if we need to make any adjustments to that split, then we're not messing around with millions and millions of vertices. Right, so what we're going to do now, let's do a little tidy up over here. Let's get rid of these. Nudge these, actually move these over. So I'm just going to simplify these a little bit. Can we get rid of these? Yeah, let's get rid of those. Get rid of those. Nudge these. So in the ideal world, these would all be quads, and that is in the ideal subdivision modeling workflow world. However, if it's all really a matter of time versus results really, and the point of what you're doing. You could spend the rest of your life just tweaking vertices to get the perfect highlights, but if you're just doing this as a little sort of hobby, then there's no point. And also, if the end result is either like negligible, or you know, you just got to weigh up the benefits over the time spent on it, basically. Okay, so I'm not too happy with this. What we could do here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's on a corner. So what we can do here is we can add one on a corner. We can add a vertex on a corner. Oops. And we can run it to there. Oops, and I've joined it to the wrong side. And then what we'll get there is we'll get all quads. And when we put the subdivision modifier on there, we'll get a nice sharp edge as a corner as well, which is probably what was there in the first place. So let's just nudge these up. You don't want too much bunching. Actually, we're gonna, yeah, that's it. Nice. There we go. And good. Right. So what we're gonna do? Let's duplicate this edge here. Actually, in fact, let's offset that. Let's offset that 0.03, which is 3 millimeters. Is that right? 3 millimeters? Or is it 3 centimeters? It won't be 3 centimeters, that's massive. So anyway, your average sort of typical split line on a car is 3.5 mil on moving parts. So it's that, but obviously you're going to have the fillet on that edge as well, so it looks bigger than that. But we're going to use that as a guide to build the fender. So we're going to build the fender to exactly that edge there. So, well, it's quite high up there. What's going on here? Is that right? Yes, it is. You should never doubt yourself. Okay, so we're going to isolate this and this, and then we're going to snap. Actually just going to roll it down, and then we're going to snap that to that point, and in side view move it up so that it's on that line, and then we're just going to run down this curve, making sure that we're following that guide edge loop. So we've trimmed that off. What we can do here, and let's snap to that, and I guess we can start snapping to the geometry over on that side as well. And let's get rid of that. Let's merge that up with that. We got a rogue vertex there. Let's add that to that. Let's go. So we want to go sort of 90 degrees off the edge. So that looks good to be joined onto there. Looks like there could be a break in here as well, so that's good. Let's go here. Snap that to that one to that one. We can go one there. We can add, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. And looks like there's one in the middle there. So let's, yeah, there we go. So let's put that one on there. Slide that over. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's add one here. Okay, good. Let's add one in here. Oops, add one in. Select that one, add it to there. Add one in the middle there as well. Snap it to there. And let's do a couple more here. Can we get rid of these? There's a lot of stuff going on here, but it looks like they're... So the trade-off here would be, we can get rid of one of these, but we'd lose this round, and actually we've got quite a lot of, quite dense geometry going on here. So let's just leave these. Let's just add the 1, 2, 3 edge loops. Let's attach them to there, because we know that's good. And then let's go, is there one there? So let's snap to the edge. And let's just nudge that over. And that looks good to me. Okay, right, so moving on down here. Let's do snapping to vertex and edge. Let's snap that to that. Let's snap that to that. And let's add a loop cut in there. Snap it to there. Looks like there's one here somewhere. Yes, there is. Okay. Let's slide over. And let's nudge these. Let's nudge these over. And let's put a loop cut. Let's cut there towards that. Let's add a face in here. And then let's add one here. Oops, let's add one here. Okay. So we're just going to close this off to start with. We're just going to close this off. We can probably add a loop cut there. Let's make it bigger. So we're going big, big, or big, smaller, smaller. Let's add, looks like we have a feature there, an edge. So let's see how that looks with the subdivision modifier on. Okay, so, and let's turn on the rest of the car. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to have a, let's have a look at that shaded up. So we're going to have, let's have this edge here, this crease, going more, following the split line. And then it will wash out towards the front. Because I think that taper there is a bit too much. So let's pull this out so that this is, this edge is following this. Is that what we want? Let's have a look. Let's have a look at... Because actually, I mean, that line does... It's just, I think it's just taper. It probably just a touch. So pull this out just a touch. And then we'll just sort of volcano that into that. But yeah, let's see how we get on, shall we? So we're going to move, we're going to grab these, we're going to select this one, and we're going to rotate. Not too much. Let's not go over the top. Let's not get ridiculous. There we go. Just something like that. So it's tapering just a little bit less. Side view. Side view is good. I think this could go down a touch. Maybe, maybe not. Let's leave it. Let's leave it. If we're not sure, let's not move it willy-nilly. All right, let's go back to isolating these components. Let's move, where's that? So there's one there. I think that's too close for us. Let's just snap it there. Let's snap that one there, that one there. Let's extrapolate this one. And then when it's hovering over that one, let's then snap it there. Let's get rid of that bottom one and let's create a face just there. We do have a triangle there at the front, which will be very easy to get rid of. And let's chuck that one in there. So we're not quite following the bonnet line because we have gone, we've got a different, slightly different layout. However, as long as we're close, we can then manipulate the bonnet to be closer to the fender, which is why we didn't finish off the bonnet. So what this means is sort of like non-destructive modeling. What it means is we can make changes and it's not costing us in time. Right, so let's have a look. Okay, so let's add an edge loop in here, and then let's consider the side view. Oh, there's quite a difference there. So we do need an edge loop here somewhere. So let's just do we want to go that way? We probably want to, let's have a look. We probably want this one. Hold on. Let's attach that to that. Oops. That to that. And then let's go slide these back. Make that into a quad. I've just got a feeling that we want to really go, rather than going forward on there, we want to go this way. So let's just attach those two. Let's slide those over. And this feels like a nicer transition. All right, let's go side view. Let's have a look at that. How are we looking compared to the, let's turn our subdivision modifier on. Let's move that up. Okay, that's good. Right, is subdivision modifier on there. Let's increase that to something like 4. So we got a nice smooth curve. Let's raise these so it's closer to the offset from the bonnet. Let's move these up. That's good. That's good. Okay. Then it looks like we could potentially go from here to here. It's X-ray on, yeah. From here to here. Let's get rid of this. So we do have another triangle there, but that's okay. We can get rid of that soon. Okay, let's nudge these up, nudge these down. Okay, and what we're going to do as well for now is, so let's move these down, let's move these along, and okay, we've got a triangle there, so we could add another loop cut here at the front, and then drop these down, and then what that means is we can, no, that's fine actually, that's okay. I mean, I don't think we really need to do that anyway, because I think that triangle there is going to sort itself out with the subdivision modifier. Anyway, so yeah, it does something similar anyway, just by virtue of the subdivision modifier. So I think we're just going to leave it for now. Let's continue. Let's continue with let's turn off, or let's clear custom split normals. Let's undo that. Yeah, no, let's undo that. Let's, oops, where are we? What's going on? Let's do some custom normals from these and see if it fixes that set from face. So it does, yeah. So what was going on here, if I undo that. So what's going on here is because this, so we've just been manipulating this, and this is taking the average of all its neighboring faces, and it's getting a bit confused here. So that's why the shading is a little bit funny here. But what we can do is if you select some neighboring faces and you say set from faces, it will fix it. So it will take these and it will do an average of all of these, like they're all in partnership. So it ignores these down here. That is interesting. So if you do those, it messes that up. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Right, let's grab these. I wonder if we can. So we need to get from up here to down here somehow. So we're just going to slide. Let's get rid of that, shall we? Slide that along. Build a face in there. And then let's just manipulate these until we get a nice transition from front to back, or back to front, whichever way you prefer. Okay. Let's see, let's get rid of this triangle. Okay, that's good. And yeah, so the subdivision modifier obviously gets rid of all triangles anyway, but what it's doing there is basically that, which actually on its own is actually, and I say actually one more time, seeing as I'm actually saying actually, is not a bad solution. So if we just have a look at a shiny matte cap, we'll see that that surface is actually not too bad. It does drop off a little bit though, so I wonder if we could move it forward just a touch, or if we just carry on in a bid to get this done quicker. I still wonder if this should come out a little bit further still. Come out a little bit further still, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's pull this out so that it goes a bit further outboard. Oh, it doesn't look so bad when you have it in this shader though, but I still think, nah, let's do it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull these out, and we're going to pull this out, and we might just run it a bit further as well. Run that a bit further. Let's go there to there. That's good. Okay. And okay, so what we're going to have to do, so at the moment the so if we were to continue that all the way down, so hold on, let's see if we can run it into a triangle somewhere. So we can move a triangle. I know, it's just over here, isn't it? If we had a triangle here somewhere, so if we moved okay, no triangles there to use. There's a triangle there, but it's in the wrong lane. Anyway, if we were to add a loop cut in there and attach those two, we've got a bit of an inconsistency in the way this flows. So this is sort of going along, and then all of a sudden it drops. So we've got like a zigzag basically. So what we'd have to do here is grab, well, first of all, the fact that we need these an additional row edge loop, which actually it's not too bad. So let's keep that. What we do need to do though, however, is if we do use our scaling trick, I keep pressing the wrong one, and we scale it in Y, Y, and what we need to do now is make sure that this runs nicer than it does at the moment. So let's, I got a little bit of an inflection there as well, actually, I've just noticed. So we want to get rid of that. So let's do that on there, and then push these. There we go, that's better. And then what we can do is grab these, and then that one, make sure that's the last one. And then we're going to use this tool, which is called the shear tool. And then we're going to just move those up. So we've got a better flow of edges. And then that one there, we could pull this out a touch, push that one in a little bit, and then we could probably add another row here as well, actually, I think. So let's, actually, we were going to move this over as well, weren't we? So we're going to just move everything forward a little bit as well. So we just move those, move these out, move that up, and then this one, I'm going to go somewhere here like this. This one down a touch. Okay, and then we can probably run that along there. Move, oops, not that one. There we go. And then always looking at the flow. So yeah, every time you make any movement, you have to see how it affects other vertices, how it affects other edges. So for example, all these little movements, you've got to keep rotating your model, looking at it from different angles to make sure that you haven't put something up. Okay, good. Let's have a little bit of water, shall we? Don't forget to stay hydrated. Hydration is key. And always make sure to bring a bottle of water with you when traveling on the underground or any other mode of transport where you're likely to be stuck on there for a little while. Okay, so let's now see what we've got here. How's that looking? Okay, so that looks good. This could do with a little bit of a bow here, I think. So we're just going to nudge these out. But now it looks like we need to move these out as well. That's good. That's good. Okay, and now let's nudge these in. And we can probably introduce another row just here. And then let's nudge these ones out. And then let's move these along. So move those along the edges. So we've got, again, we're going to go from bigger to smaller. So they get smaller towards the front. There we go. Nice little curve there. Okay, so now we just got to run this out somewhere. So yeah, because we've been moving these left and right. Again, we just got to check that they still run nice in all views. So you've got a little bit of a flat spot just here. Always just make sure you're always paying attention to these little things because it's very, very important. There we go. So from this view, this looks a bit funny. So always considering the edge flow. Good. Right. Okay. So what are we going to do here then? So this one. Let's add a loop cut. I mean, we could just run these. No, hold on. Add an edge there. Move these out. And then one, two, three, and we move that along. Oops, not that one. Move these along. Let's see what that would do to this. Oops. Let's have a look. How's that looking? That is looking a-okay. Good. What we could do is potentially slide these out a little bit. And these as well. Just to give them a little bit of breathing space. And then also don't forget to always check the edge flow. You always need to consider this, very important. So actually at this point I'm wondering if this one needs to run like these, like this. That one does that, and then you've got a little bit of a dip in there. That's looking good. Okay, lovely. So you've got a little bit of an issue with shading just there. So let's select some locals. There we go. Beautiful. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what I would call beautiful. Right. So moving on, moving down. And let's turn off the scaling. Put it back to 1. Let's have a look at the rest of the model. Let's have a look at it all in context. That's another thing that's critical, actually. Always make sure that you're looking at your model in context, because it's very easy to get stuck doing this, and then you look at everything else and something looks wrong or whatever. So, always make sure that you're looking at things in context. So this actually was showing a little bit of funnies there. So that is going to be due to all these triangles. So what we're going to try and do, so we've got subdivision modifier, so we can definitely get rid of some of them, but we're not going to try and retopologize the whole model, because, as I said before, it's all to do with result versus time versus purpose of the model. So these are just going to be rendered up and animated. So if it looks good without going over the top with spending millions and millions of hours fixing everything, then we're all good. But what can we do here? We can definitely fix this up a little bit. Let's see what we can do here. So, So yeah, these are going to be rounded off with the with the subdivision modifier anyway, so we can get rid of a few of them. We've got a little bit of a funny here, so what we could do here is very close to a raw edge there, so we can probably flatten this. We can get rid of one of those triangles there, and I wonder, probably get rid of that one, give us this funny square there, and we can just move this out of the way for a sec. So we got a bit of an unwanted crease there, or sorry, surface sort of deformation. What we could do there is we can add another edge just there, slide those along, fixes it a little bit, but we still got it, but it's potentially to do with this as well. So if we add some more faces there, it flattens it out a little bit. But this is going to be hidden underneath the this wheel arch what do you call it? The wheel arch it's gone. The wheel arch thing. It's not a cover, it's called a wheel arch. Oh man, what's the word for it? What's the word for this? Wheel arch cladding. Yes! Wheel arch cladding. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so yeah, we got a little bit of funny there. You can see that, but you won't see it. You definitely won't see that in the renders. So actually, you can potentially see. Yeah, so you got a bit of a concave going on there. So you can see if we just nudge these out and these, that should help that one. But this one really is to do with the fact that it's a triangle there. And in order to get rid of that triangle, we would have to insert a loop cut somewhere, but we don't want to add any more loop cuts. We want to keep this topology nice and clean, so we're just going to live with it. Let's have a look what it tries to do. Yeah, so it's adding a loop cut here when you put when you add the subdivision modifier, and it's running it out there, which is, as I say, you just won't see that when it's all rendered up and looking beautiful. So let's turn off this, and then let's see. Do we add a break in here, or do we join this up? So to join this cladding up with the rest of the body would be quite a big job. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to add, well, first of all, we're going to move this so it continues, it flows on from there, and then probably we want the split to be here, I reckon. So we'll have a little bit of a face there. So let's just break it down here. Do you want to break it there? Is that where we want to break it? Yes, I think so. So we're going to tear it off there. Select these, separate those, and then we're going to have a little flat running all the way to the back. So actually all of these additional edges that we've created, we might want to get rid of those because it's additional geometry which we don't, so we want things to be simple. So what we'll do for now is we'll undo those for now. Actually, hold on, where's this going to go? Is this going to go down here? We're going to have a face there. Hold on, so where's this going to go? Is that going to go there? All right, let's just match up the two fender bits. Merge by distance. And then what we're going to do, temporarily add a bevel modifier to this edge so that we can manipulate it and we don't mess the we don't ruin this bevel, sorry. So if we add a bevel modifier here, put it top of the stack, mirror modifier should be at the bottom, put a 2 in there and make it by weight. So now if we turn off this, and so yeah, that's roughly the same distance from here to here. And then we're gonna, so now that we've done that, we can manipulate this geometry and we'll know that this this bevel will always be at exactly the correct angle that it needs to be. So if this is to be done, if I was to move these manually, so at the moment this is what do you call it? This is balanced perfectly between this and this surface, whereas if this was built manually, it wouldn't be. So let's snap those to there. Looks like we might have a normals issue there. Snap that to there, that to there. Slide these down, move those down, get rid of these triangles. Slide these down, slide these down, slide. So that one's gone off into slide on, and actually we've got a bit of a mess going on there. So what we can do is we can just move it by eye, get rid of the triangles, get rid of that, put a square there, oops, F, get rid of that, put another square there between those, and then one last square there. Very good, very, very good. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to line that up with that, and it looks like we might be able to get away with just nudging those bottom vertices out to line it up. And then let's have a look, do they line up? Yeah, so we've got a little bit of a funny, so it looks like the wheel arch eyebrow is bigger on the front than it was, sorry, bigger on the back than it was on the front. Let's just have a look and see if that's correct. That is usually what they do. So if we duplicate that, turn off, oops, separate that. If we just bring it to the front wheel, we'll see that it is in fact, where is it? It's quite difficult to see them, but there we go. But yeah, it's clearly bigger, which is quite a common thing. It's it makes the back wheel arch look more beefy. Beef. And just gives it a nicer stance as well. So what we're going to have to do here is we are going to, first of all, let's make this, let's make that, because we've got a subdivision modifier on there, our edge looks a little bit bigger. So if we just put 2 segments on there, it just makes it a bit sharper. And this is just temporary anyway. So, and also they don't seem to be lining up now. So if we just move these up, there we go, very nice. And then what we need to do is we need to match these up, match the front with the back, or the back with the front. Okay, what we could do actually, because on the back we've only got this little tiny bit, so, and this bit isn't lined up yet either. So let's line these up. Actually, what's that flat there? Okay, so that's good. That's good, okay. And then let's isolate just these bits. Let's separate that. And then let's isolate just these bits and the wheel. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to just make sure that this lower edge is running nicely with the wheel. And I think at the moment, let's turn off the subdivision modifier for now. At the moment, it's looking okay. We could probably simplify the front a little bit as well. Let's get rid of one of these. And then let's slide this up a touch. And then let's distribute these evenly. And then do the same with those, and the same with those. Oops. The same with those, and the same with those. And I wonder if we could do one more maybe. Let's go for it. Distribute those, 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 and those. Okay, so we've simplified that, and now it's going to be easier to work with these. And let's turn our subdivision modifier back on. Okay, so I'm not too happy with this the wheel arch, because if you look at the wheel from the back, so if we just duplicate this, move it out, and then we can separate it, then let's hide the wheel, and then there we go. So it looks like at the moment, it looks like the sort of the center, the biggest overlap should be over here at the moment. It looks like it's over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to nudge these until this is the biggest gap is sort of around Y0, which is there. So that's much better. But it looks like the whole car needs to be nudged forward so that it's balanced over the wheel. So let's just do that quickly. Okay, so let's not mess this up. So what we need to do first of all is let's unparent everything from that scalar. So clear parent. Then we're gonna make sure that we can't select the wheel or the scalar. And then let's have a look. Is there anything hidden? Make sure there's nothing hidden. Nothing hidden. Okay. And then we're gonna have two windows. There we go. Actually, do we need two windows? I don't think we do. So now if we select everything and we just nudge it forward, and what we're looking at is this gap here. So this point where the wheel arch overlaps the wheel is at this point, and at the back it's a little bit higher, but it's not as bad as before. So before it was like this, so the angle was kind of like that. From here to here was going like that. But what we've done is we've balanced it a little bit better. So the car looks like it's sitting on the wheel a little bit better. So this is before and this is after. Before and after. Before. So to exaggerate, what I'm trying to say is like something like that would look wrong. And actually I've moved it now. Hold on, let's move it again. So I think somewhere like there is good. Right, so okay, let's select, make sure everything is selectable again. Choose, apart from the ground plane, select our scale empty. Select all, parent to that. Okay, and then let's isolate these four components. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our guide. And then let's work our circle so it's nicer. There we go. How's that looking? So it looks like we've moved it backwards now. So let's move these up a touch. Oops. There we go. Lovely. Jubbly. Okay. Good. Very good. Right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select. We're going to put the origin into the center of that. So cursor to selected, then origin to 3D cursor. Yeah, that's right. And then we're gonna let's unparent that in case we get. No, actually no. Let's keep the parent because the parent is this scalar, which is good. So let's duplicate that, scale it up. We're going to use that to build the eyebrow for the top. Sorry, the top of the eyebrow basically. So it looks like. So at this point. Hold on, it's not round. Let's just get rid of that. What we want to do is we want to make sure if we select this and we offset it, that it's a nice constant offset. So a nice constant offset would mean it would have to be somewhere like there. So let's just nudge these out so that they follow. Let's turn off auto snapping, auto merging rather. And then, yeah, let's make sure that it's running nicely with that one. So we're gonna have a nice consistent eyebrow. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, let's turn on, well actually not quite beautiful. Let's offset these back again because it looks like when a subdivision modifier is on, looks like we're closer here than we are here, but we're constrained here by the front wheel arch. So what we're going to do here is we're going to separate that, and actually we're going to select it, and then we're going to move it normal to, so basically offsetting it. So if we nudge it down, and then let's move it out in X. Okay, good. Right, so I've lined it up with the front. So at the front, it's running nicely. Then at the back, it starts to peel away. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make it run a little bit more constant. And it's going to be circular to the, well, it's going to be offset basically to that. So I think if it tapers a little bit towards the back, so it gets a little bit bigger at the back, I think we'll be okay with that. And what it will mean is we need to make less adjustments with the back arch. So the back part of the eyebrow. Let's turn those on. Let's turn on subdivision modifier for a sec. Let's grab those. And then let's what's this called again? Sphere, shear sphere. Rotate it down. Good. Okay. So we can get rid of that. And then let's see how this is looking in front view. Not too good. So let's isolate those. Let's isolate those. And it's showing me the rest of the cage, which we don't want to see. So let's turn that modifier off. And we can use the scaler to scale it down. And let's have a look at this. So we want to work with, first of all, with these. So how are these looking? So that one is doing something funny. And why is that then? Okay, so we don't want that at all. So this one, let's pull this one out. And then that one as well. And then at Y0, that will be the widest point of the car, which is the middle of the tyre or the wheel. So that's running nice. So that one there roughly is the widest part. And then we're going to do something similar. So actually we can hide these so we can see the back. And then let's use the scaler to go down a little bit more. So it's easier to see. Select those. And then again, we're going to just do a nice gentle fall off towards the back. There we go. And then let's select those and the next row. Isolate those. Let's isolate the front first. Isolate the front. So the front is probably dictated. So this edge here is probably dictated by the front wheel arch. So if we nudge those out, nudge these out. So actually we want to just be making sure that we're always moving outboards. And this one here is actually the widest part. So that's good. So we're going to just move these. So it's a nice consistent flow. Let's bring the back in. Back in again. Bit of back. And then let's hide those. And we're just going to quickly check the back ones as well. So the widest point, the narrowest point is there and the widest point is up there. So from here to here, we want a nice, constant or consistent curve or flow basically. So if we just go from top, so that one's a little bit further in, that one's a little bit further in, that one. And also we're making sure that it runs nicely with this outer edge as well. So these are looking nice. These are looking nice, yeah. Okay, good. And then let's go to our scaler. One in there. And how's that looking? That is looking very nice. Very nice. Time for some water. Okay. Okay, right. So what we're going to do now, actually what we could do is we can have a little window up here in the corner where we can always see it in context, which would be nice. Okay, so right, let's do a little normalization of these. So we'd have to break those. Okay, so we just leave those actually. Has that made it worse or better? It's not really any different. So what we could do here is if we break it off here. Oh, actually, hold on, no. So, yeah, no, forget that. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to move. Let's make a really big move here. Let's attach those to there and those to there. And let's rotate these down to here, and let's use the shear tool, oops, on this one. Shear tool there, and then what we're going to do on this one is probably scale in Z, and then shear it down. Scale and shear, scale and shear, scale and shear. Okay, and then let's go from the back, shear, and shear down. Then select this one, and then scale and shear. Okay, so we've lost a little bit of curvature there, but do not beware, because we can bring it back. I'll bring it back again. Okay, let's move those over. So we're going to have a nice little flow here from front to back. These are looking like they're maybe, oh no, they're not. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, top view, they need a little bit of attention. So we just nudge them out. Nice flow. And that one actually will probably run into this one here. So this edge will probably run into this one, because it looks like it's aiming for that. It's aiming for the, or is it? No, let's go for this one. Okay, let's go for that one. Okay. So actually, eventually we're going to go back into this. So we need to keep a similar amount, or actually we need to, well, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a subdivision modifier. We're going to apply it to this, so that when it's applied, it has this amount of vertices. So if I add a subdivision modifier to this now, it will look like this. So at the moment, this is good. So we've got the same amount of vertices on there. However, this flow isn't very nice. So what we're going to add is we're going to add an edge so that it goes down to here, or maybe even move this one so it goes down to here. We'll have one to here. So we're going to have one here. We're going to miss one. We're going to have one here. So let's move this over. Let's move this out. What's going on? Oh, that's just a rogue vertex. Is it? Okay. So we can get rid of that. And then we can, so we're keeping this one. And then what we need to do here is get rid, so if we put an edge on there, a crease rather, it will get rid of an additional break there, which is what we want. I wonder if we put one on that edge, will it do the same? No, it won't. So it always breaks that one up. So we don't want an additional one. Actually, it's relatively easy to get rid of that. So right, let's put an edge on, a crease on there as well. And then let's get rid of that bevel. So now when we apply that subdivision modifier, we'll have less geometry that we have to manipulate to line it up with the back. So let's get back into it. Okay, let's get a nice constant, just a nice flow basically. So that's going to go to there, isn't it? So that's a bit too high, I think. We don't want to go to there, do we? Let's have a look, shall we? So that would have to flow. It would have to flow like this, and I think that might be a bit too high. Or is it? Is that too high? Yeah, I think so. I think we need to just drop this Drop it. Drop this line a little bit. So let's move these down. Let's move these down. So we got something like that. Let's try a little scaling technique here. Let's go 0.2. So the peak is going to be there. So actually the peak is down here, isn't it? So that means if we drop that, we can nudge these all down a little bit. What's happened here? Oh, so we've got one missing there, do we? Okay. So let's have a look. Let's drop these a little bit further. So again, we want the high point to be sort of, well, here basically. We don't want it to be going up towards the back because that's going to look weird. So I'm just going to drop these. So the peak, so that the peak here is at a zero, at Y0, which is the center of the wheel. Let's move these down. Good, right, okay, so let's turn the scaling off, go to 1. Okay, so we've got an additional edge loop there, which we can get rid of for now because our subdivision modifier is going to give it, bring it back. Actually, so if we get rid of that, and we get rid of that, and we put a square, so we make this into a square, and if we apply this subdivision modifier, we will have, so that's what's going to happen. So what we need to do is we need to add, actually let's fix these CVs first of all, vertices and these edges, make sure that they all flow nicely. So we're going to add another edge, here. So at the moment we've got, without the subdivision modifier, we've got one edge, and then on the back side we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we could put another 2 in there and it will flow in nicely with that one. I'm not sure if we want to, but I think if we fix this, make sure it runs nicely, then yeah, we can do that. Right, so let's see how this is looking. So widest point being over here. So we can nudge these. Let's do the scale. Let's move those in. Okay. Good. Okay, and then let's nudge that one down a little bit as well. There we go. Good. Right. So we've got a little bit of an inflection just here. So let's move these up and along. And let's move these up this way. Okay, so side view, this could potentially go up a little bit there. Good, very good. And then let's have a look at the flow in top view. Flowing outboard towards X0. And then let's move these accordingly. So we've got a nice flow there. Okay, and then let's see. So this is aiming towards here. So let's have a look at the subdivision modifier on. Hold on, it looks a bit funny there as well, doesn't it? Let's move these in. Does that go around the corner there, does it? Okay, so let's move. So these are going to go around like that, and then that one's going to go around like that. Okay, so I think we're actually, before we do that, let's fill in this gap here and see how the fender's going to look, because actually this might just look a bit crap anyway, so all this might go to waste anyway. So let's just let's just nudge these a little bit, so we've got a bit of more of a concave, and then with that edge, let's leave the edge for now actually, and then we're going to go let's get rid of this. Let's turn off the scaling rather. So if we duplicate this edge, separate it, hide that, and then isolate this, what we're going to do is we're going to build a surface to match this edge here, but we don't need to work with all of these. So what we're going to do is just going to join those all up, so we've just got one clean edge, and then we're going to, before we add the next loop, let's make sure this one is a consistent distance from that one, so that when we build the patch, it's going to flow nice. Again, all about the flow, all about the highlights. So let's attach that to that, or join, I believe it is. Let's select that, hide it, and delete the front of it, unhide that, and then we're going to go select all, merge by distance, and then we're going to go like this. So you've got a little bit more geometry there than we do there. So let's just cut this here. Let's just move these over. Okay, and then let's get rid of that one. Let's add a loop cut in there. Let's add a face there. Okay, good. And then let's go, just bring it all back in again. Let's see how we're looking. Okay, so we're going to bring this down to meet this edge. Okay, so that is going to go down to there. So let's just let's just slide that down. Slide it down, and then slide it back up, and then slide those back up, and then we're going to add a square there, and we're going to just in fact we're going to go rogue here. Let's just build, hold on, is there so we're going to have a gap there, aren't we? We are going to have a gap there, so that's good. So actually what that means is we're going to take, let's take this and this, and let's continue that flat. So let's snap that to that. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a flat there. Oops. So we're going to have a flat there. So let's grab this edge, and then let's extrude it in Y by an amount. Nice to have a rounded off number, so let's go -6. Yes. Let's move those up. So it lines up nicely with that one, and then let's snap that to that, and then let's delete that bottom one there. We don't need that one. Okay, good. So this is actually the edge that we're aiming for. So that one, oops, that one, let's separate that. And then let's do the same for that one. Let's hide those two. Oops, hide. Join that to that. And then now we need to just nudge all of this back so that it meets that line. So actually we can probably get rid of this loop, edge loop, sorry. And then, yeah, then we can start nudging these until we meet that line, or the edge of the cladding, basically. So nudging, nudging, nudging until we nudge no more. Okay, there we go. And then that one, and then this one. So this one's gonna help these flow, but not enough. We're gonna have a gap there or something. Let's have a look. Okay, let's. Oh, we need to move these down as well. Wow, it's quite a distance now, isn't it? Okay. I wonder how that's gonna look. But how is that going to look? Oops. Okay, right, so let's keep going, let's keep going. Oops. Okay, so bear with. And then we were just about to go rogue here with a massive n-gon, and what this gives us is basically a guide as to sort of what that surface is going to look like. Right, let's turn on the fender again. Oh, sorry, the cladding. Okay, that's not too bad. So we've got a little highlights feature which is washing out further down than we thought. So let's just chuck these on these and let's have a look at before and after. Of course, so this goes up there. So obviously that we don't have that bit on the back. Is there a crease on the back? So that crease there could go, oh no, it's too high to go up there, isn't it? How's that looking? I don't think that looks too bad. So I think we might just leave that. Maybe make the crease a little bit more prominent and then washes out. That's the only thing I would say. So let's do that. And I guess this could be pulled in a little bit further as well to alleviate that gap. Or we pull these out a little bit as well. So turn off snapping and pull these out. And then pull these out a touch as well. There we go, okay. And then let's pull these out a touch. And then these also. And then let's have a look at how that line is flowing. So let's go to us. Actually, first of all, let's see the vertices. So we can close this one. And then let's just, for now, let's put a triangle in there. And then let's just adjust these so they flow nicer. Okay, good. So yeah, the flow of CVs here is a little bit funny. So, and then we've got a rogue vertex there as well. So let's just, so yeah, I don't like these three here. So for now, what we're going to do is this. And then when we're ready, we'll bring it back. Good. So let's distribute those evenly. Okay, good. Right, so let's have a look. Looks like we've got a bit of a flat spot there. So let's go to scalar, 0.2. Yeah, we definitely do. Let's have a look at the cladding. Oh no, the cladding doesn't have the break there. Okay, so let's just, and actually we did have a guide for that as well. So why on earth are we ignoring it? So let's just bring it down. And actually over here, let's have a look at it in top view. So let's isolate that in that view. And then let's turn on the other, where is it? This thing, options. No, not options. That arrow. This arrow, objects. There we go. Right. So in top view, so let's move these up a touch, down, down, and in this view, so in the ideal world, it looks like that cladding is peeling off here. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the cladding back inboard. So we'll ignore the top view for from here on, I guess. So from up to about, actually it's only the back one really. As long as it flows nicely, we can probably follow it right up until the last bit, and then we'll have a nice consistent gap. Let's see how this is looking. Beautiful, I imagine. Let's do a little bit of vertex manipulation up here. Okay, yeah, good. Top view. Top view is looking good. Okay, this is not looking good. So what do we have here? Okay, so this is already looking quite steep. Let's try and nudge those. Let's nudge these. Okay, and then let's make this run into this at a nicer, in a nicer way, basically. So the sort of distribution of these vertices is nicer, basically. And then here as well, actually, when you look at these, so this tapering is more, what's the word? Not nicer, but it's more of a constant tapering rather than sort of flatter here and then all of a sudden tapering. So yeah, these two rows are now more similar to each other, so they flow nicer. If we're going to be super critical, this gap potentially looks a bit smaller here than it does here. So let's just nudge these out a touch. Let's look in side view, and it looks, yeah, definitely. So if you can look at this height here, it's definitely smaller here than it is back here. So we're just going to move these, and we're just going to move these in Z so that we don't disturb what we've done in top view. And let's just move these down, down, and then that's going to be halfway, and then we're going to split that at some point. Have a look at it in this view. So a little bit of manipulation there. So that's a pretty nice flow. Okay, that's good. That's looking good. Okay, so let's turn on, let's turn off the scaler. And let's have a look at this. This is looking much nicer now. So I think when we're ready, we're going to add the crease, this crease, make it a little bit more prominent so that it washes out nicer, because it looks at the moment a little bit apologetic. It kind of finishes there and it's like, sorry. So let's make it a little bit more like it means business. Like it's a crease on a mission. On a mission to show that this is a sharp, super sharp design, which it very clearly is. Right, so we're gonna select these, add a bevel to there, and then let's slide these to here, slide these to here, and then we're gonna have a square here, and it's, oh, so we got a little bit funny here. So for this, let's go back to a scaler. And let's see if we can catch that funny line. You can kind of see it there. So in side view, it looks like these could move up, and these up, and these, and it's a nice sort of fall off from center to the front. Maybe a little bit higher here, and then there, and then from top view, there we go, you got something like that. So now if we, sorry, now you shouldn't be able to see those sort of funnies. It's still a little bit there. So if we keep this view in there and see what we can nudge. So essentially we want to move this one out or down. So we don't want to move it down. So let's move it out. So straightening it out here, so that's good. Maybe a touch more. Let's go for it. But then it looks like we need to move this one as well. So let's nudge this one out. And then it looks like we want to move this one in a touch. Looks like this gap here is inconsistent. And then this one as well. So let's move that down. And so that look, let's see how that's looking. That is looking very nice, if I say so myself. Let's turn off the scaler, turn that to 1, subdivision modifier on, and there is our crease. It's a little bit funny there, I think, as well. So let's fix that as well. So what we could do, we can actually get rid of, one of these edges. And then let's slide these down and then slide these up. So we're going to go from big, smaller, smaller, smaller. We're going to nudge these up a touch. Let's have a look in top view. So yeah, you can clearly see here that we've got, it goes a little bit flat here. So what we need to do is just pull these out just a touch. And then these also just a touch, and we can be looking at it in this view here, and we can see the changes that we're making. So actually maybe this needs to go in a touch, and then this one as well. And actually these could probably do with being planarized, but I think, let's have a look. Unless we spot something wonky, I'm just going to leave it. I do see, oh yeah, that's that triangle. Okay, that's fine. So other than that triangle, which we're going to fix anyway, that's a nice line. Good. Okay. So let's go back to, are we happy with how far that crease is running now? think so. I wouldn't want the crease to go. No, I quite like that crease now actually. So we're going to leave that crease. And then let's move now onto our fender cladding. So what we're going to do here, so we're good here. Let's now move these so that they follow our new fender. Let's get rid of some of these because they're causing some funnies. And actually, are we happy with what this is doing? There was a triangle there somewhere, wasn't there, which was causing a bit of a funny. So we do need it there, and then it gets a little bit thin there. So let's do this. Let's do one of these. So the surfaces look a little bit nicer. Let's get rid of that one. And I wonder if we could, yes, I think so. Let's slide these over. And then let's go oh, do we want to go there? Is that going too far? So I'm going overkill now. So let's stop. So actually I'm noticing that these aren't spread out very nicely either. So they could do moving. And this one, we could attach that to there. And we get another triangle. However, what we could do is if we nudge these up, we can run that triangle, sorry, we can run an edge to there, and then create another triangle, which is obviously a silly thing to do. So let's undo that. So I'm trying to avoid creating another edge that goes all the way to the back, but I don't want to get rid of this vertex. So what I might do is, oh, I've messed all this up now as well. Right, let's see if we can undo. I think I was being a little bit too smart there. Oh no, I've not got enough undos. Oh no. Hold on. Right, let's slide these forward. Forward. Have we lost the curvature there a little bit? Okay. Okay. Dear, that was a fatal move there. I think we can fix it. Right, okay, so what I was going to say is what we can do here is do one of these jobbies. And that way we don't get any funnies, and we've run the edge flow round like this rather than having to run it all the way to the back. And it's looking a-okay. So that's good. That's good, isn't it? Right. So let's finish this cladding on the side. Where did we get to with that? We did. Okay. So let's slide these down. Get rid of that triangle there. Slide these down. Slide, oops, let's turn off snapping and slide these down like this. and let's nudge them out just a touch, which I think we did on here as well. So actually we can do that a little bit more. And a little bit more. Yeah, nice. Okay, good. So what we can do here is, I think we're almost ready to attach these two halves of the cladding. So if we snap that to there, oh, we're gonna have a little triangle there. We do not want a triangle. So that line of these two has got to flow in order to avoid having a triangle between these three components. So let's see if we can fix that. Okay, so if we move these out, oops, if we move these out, then we get a much better flow. And then hopefully what that means is we avoid having a triangle, oops, having a triangle there. Good, okay, good, very good. Right, now we're getting somewhere. So let's get rid of that because that was our guide. Now, so we don't want to start getting rid of loads of loops. Or do we? So if we worked with this one, let's put an edge, let's put a crease on there so it doesn't, so we get less subdivisions. Then if we snap that to there, so we're going to go round, round, and back to this. So this looks like it could do with moving out so that it matches that better. But then of course that means we need to move those from the center point. Let's go from there. And then let's use our shear tool. Oh, do we not need to? What's going on? Oh, so we can get rid of that one. So yeah, let's shear these out so it flows better. There we go, very nice. So we do need another we do need another loop cut there, but if we just apply this subdivision modifier, we'll get the same result. Plus we don't have an additional loop cut after the subdivision modifier is applied. So as long as we're happy with the flow of these, we can now apply the subdivision modifier, and then, okay, that's good. Right, so let's join these two. Let's get rid of that. So now we can put the bevel weight onto that edge, and then we'll use a bevel on this edge, and then let's slide these up. Oops, slide these up to match that one. Put a bevel weight on there, and then we can get rid of this one. Check the normals. Check. What's this? What's this thing here? Oops. Oh, because of that. Okay, and then so we just need to slide. Not slide. We need to just shear this out so that it matches that one. So shear, and then let's shear this way, and then let's scale in Z, and then let's shear again. Actually, let's move this outboard, and then let's shear this one, and then scale until it snaps. Perfect. Right, let's get rid of this edge loop. Can we get rid of it all the way down to the bottom? I think so. So let's get rid of that one. And maybe even that one. And that one. Let's get rid of that by accident. Let's move that back up. We can probably get rid of this as well. And that one, slide those over. Okay, we're getting close. And then we're going to go from center of this one. We're going to go across. We're going to scale in Z. And we're going to shear in X. And we're going to shear in Y until we get close and it snaps. That's good. Not too happy with this flow of vertices though. But there's millions of them now, so rather than redoing it all, let's just stick with it and hopefully no one notices. Right, we need to attach these to these. Attach those to there. Let's snap that to there. And let's see, snap those. Let's get rid of this edge. And snap that to that. Snap, let's just get rid of that one. Okay. So let's have a look here. We've got a little bit of a bunching going on. You bunch of edges. Let's see if it looks with a subdivision modifier. Not very good. But if we put a bevel on this edge, how does that look? I wonder. Oops, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. A bit of a funny corner there. What's going on here? So we're going to get rid of this edge loop here. We're going to attach that to that and then that to that. We're going to get rid of that crease. I'm going to slide these out just a little bit. We can probably, let's see. Let's fix this corner here because it looks a bit wobbly, isn't it? All right, turn off auto merge. And let's just nudge these. Oops. Turn off snapping as well. And let's just, got the whole thing selected. Right, okay. All right. Oh my God, right. Turn off snapping. Excuse me. All right, let's nudge those up. There we go. That's much better. Much better. We can nudge them in. There we. Look at that. Just look at that. I think the people at Adro themselves will be impressed. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't be. Right, so I think we need to move these out. To meet that. So this is taking lead now. There we go. There we go. Right, good. Okay, so looks like we've got some rogue components here as well. So that was from the front, which we don't need. This is this symmetrical? If this is indeed symmetrical, we can delete half. Okay, let's do it properly. Select all, bisect, go straight down, put 0 in all of these. put 0 in these and leave 1 in there, and then clear inner. And then we're going to do the same thing here. So bisect straight down, put zeros in here, zeros in here, then put a 1 in there, and then clear outer. And then put a mirror modifier on there. Make sure clipping is on. Good. And do we have some more rogue stuff here? Looks like it. So let's get rid of. Do we have a whole rogue fender on that side? Looks like it. So we can get rid of this whole fender and these bits. We don't need those. And this bit. So that's going to be mirrored over from this side. And then let's have a look. If we turn off the bonnet, do we get to see any engine? Oh yes, look at that. Right, we probably don't need the wipers. We probably don't need... Oh, we could probably do a little bit of boot space. Why not? All right, let's have a look at this. This looks pretty cool, doesn't it? What's this? Let's mirror this over. Make sure that clipping is on. Look at that. How cool does that look? Right, okay, let's put the bonnet back on. Good, okay. Let's hide this. What are these? These are from the front, so we can get rid of these. These were, this is from the back, so actually that attaches that bit to there. That's good, okay. Let's adjust these a little bit as well, because that does not flow. And you always have to flow. If you don't flow, then you've got to go. Okay. Let's do a little bit of topology fix up here. Fix up, yeah. And got a little bit of a little bit of bunching going on here, and we don't want this. We definitely don't want that, but at the same time we don't want to be adding more edges. So I wonder if we can cheat somehow. So what if that went to, oops, where could that go instead? So actually what we can do is we can get rid of that. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would help. Let's get rid of that. So we've got a little bit less bunching, and let's get rid of this one, and then slide these over. Get rid of this, slide these over. Let's distribute these better. Let's nudge these for better flow. Let's get rid of this triangle. Actually, hold on. No, let's add an edge to there. And let's distribute these evenly. And then let's nudge these so we get a nice curvature. And there we go. All right, let's have a look at the before. Okay, I thought that looked a little bit puffy, but it looks a bit puffy on there as well. So, oopsies. No offense. No offense meant. Let's add a weighted normals to there to get rid of that funny across the center. And then if you apply it, you need to keep it. Okay, so we'd have to create geometry for the other side in order to create it, get rid of that fully without having a modifier. So we'll just keep that. See what that's doing there. Actually, I don't like what it's doing there, so let's get rid of this. And then we're going to get rid of the funny artifacts by getting rid of the triangles here. So actually these are broken up. So this is probably done to normalize the for the shading purposes basically. And it's actually causing us problems because we're using a mirror modifier. But I want to keep my mirror modifier, and so this is why I'm doing this. All right, we've got an additional edge there. Oh dear, what's happened here? Ah, come on. There we go. Ah, it's still there. You. Hold on. Right, let's get rid of this. So we're happy here, but not here. So let's just choose these. Set from faces. Let's select these and repeat. Select these. Set from faces. These and repeat. These and repeat. No, actually not those. Okay, what if we... There we go. And I imagine... So if we tear these... Let's get rid of this edge. There we go. Okay, so we've just got a little bit there and there. So let's continue. There we go. And then let's tear these. And then we got a little bit of a funny still there. So let's tear these. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. We've still got it here though. Okay. So we're going to tear those. Tear those. We do have a funny there again. Surely not. No, that's no good. Okay, that'll do. Okay, good. Right, so I think what we're going to do now, just to close this up, is to stop this from being a mega long video. Let's just quickly mirror the wheels over. Turn off the reference. Let's just mirror these wheels over and just have a quick look. And then we're going to call it a day. So we're going to have to get rid of the petrol cap filler because it just doesn't fit. It would be nice to have a petrol cap filler. Or would it? Nah, we can get rid of it. Sorry. Okay. And then, what was I doing? Oh yeah, so let's put the cursor to selected. Let's put an empty there. Then let's put that empty into the wheel collection. Let's isolate that collection. So we're going to use this one if we animate it, we'll use this empty as the parent. So we'll parent everything to that and it will rotate about that. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to get the Z height of that, which is that. And we're going to move this. No, we're not. All right, let's go back. So we're going to use scalar as our reference point. So let's select that. Let's add a mirror modifier to that. And then let's mirror that about the scalar. And now if we select everything, we can copy those modifiers to everything else. And then what else we can do here is if we select this, rename it to wheel. Let's hide everything else apart from the brake caliper. So the brake caliper is going to be the parent for the wheel. So the brake caliper doesn't rotate like the wheel. Parent to that. Where is that? It's here. So the wheel is there. Okay, good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select that, hide that. We're going to put everything into this empty. So parent that to this empty. And where's our wheel gone? We're going to parent everything other than the wheel. Where is that? Is that another group? Group and a group and a group and a group. Right, so we don't want... where is it? Right, so that's our wheel. So that's our wheel. So we're going to put everything apart from the stuff that doesn't rotate, which in this case is the brake caliper. So select everything, move it into the empty, and then move that empty into the wheel. So now what we can do is we can rotate the wheel or the empty. And then we can add camber to the wheel, and it will still rotate. So if we add camber, sorry, hold on, grab the wheel. So we need to have the origin there. So now what we can do is we can add camber to the wheel like this, and we can rotate the wheel and it will rotate correctly. That's quite a lot of camber, but you get what I'm saying. Let's have a look. Let's have a look with the wheel on. So I've still got to do the rest of that bonnet, but I won't bore you any longer with this video because I feel like it has gone on for quite some time. But yeah, in the next video, I'll show you how I animate these. So again, apologies for such a long video, but thank you so much for those that did tune in. And I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the process. So for now, thank you very much. Adios.